Hello everyone, I'm Daniel.
Hello.
I've been doing this for a little while now. We are going to do some meditation practices, and then following those I have a short talk I'll give at the end. But I got this little bell because it started to feel really weird when I would say at the end of the meditation, I would say, okay, well now our meditation is over. That felt really weird. So I got a bell. Some people think bells are really special. I just got it because it feels weird to just say, okay, we're done. So I'm going to ring it now at the beginning. And I want everyone to sit up as straight as you can. I like to do the half lotus position, which is foot on top of knee, other foot underneath. But if you're in a chair, what you'll want to do is just firmly plant your feet firmly on the floor, and we're going to try not to move them the whole time. And let's see, hands. There are two different things I recommend for what to do with your hands. It's important to have a plan for what to do with your hands, because otherwise you could fidget. I know I fidgeted before I learned these two techniques, but the one, I call it the bowl. It is hand on top of hand with fingers lined up like this and thumbs gently touching like this, so it makes kind of an oval. Just resting right here so that your thumbs are in line with your belly button. And some people call that the cosmic mudra. If you're into fancy names and you want to feel important, you can call it that, but I just call it the bowl. And then the other thing I recommend is called relaxation, which is just hands on your knees. That's good too, I think. Just the point is that you have a plan for where your hands are going to be, and that way if you happen to adjust yourself or scratch or whatever, you know where your hands are going to go at the end. So, and that is what I want to say. If you have an itch, it's better to scratch it and then get your hand back to position than it is to just think about how itchy you are the whole time. So I always recommend just scratching and getting it over with, although some people do say you should just remain still and let yourself itch. I don't like that. There's a phenomenon that people call sitting on the anthill, and that is when you sit down and as soon as you start sitting, you suddenly realize you're very uncomfortable and you have all sorts of itches and pains everywhere. And that can tend to happen, but hopefully as we practice, that will get a little lighter over time. And let's see, hands, legs. Okay, and your eyes, I do a practice where I look a little bit downward, I have my eyes open, and I look at an uninteresting part of the floor. Some people say exactly a 45-degree angle. I don't think that matters, but just I look at an uninteresting part of the floor, because I have found that when I meditate with my eyes closed, I start daydreaming right away. So I have my eyes open and I look at a part of the floor that's not going to distract me. The only exception to that is when I lead events outside, I say have your eyes closed, because when you're outside, there will consistently be things coming into your field of vision. But I can look at the floor, nothing's going to come into my field of vision probably, so that works really well for me. And now we're going to do a practice that is called the healing breath, and that is what I like to do at the beginning and at the end of meditation. It is a breathing practice where I'll explain it first and then I'll demonstrate it and then I will guide you in it. But we take a very slow breath in so that it takes 5 seconds to breathe in, and then we hold our breath for 5 seconds, and then we take a very slow breath out, so it's another 5. So a breath is 15 seconds. Okay, so it looks like this. I'll show you what it looks like. And I really like that practice, not only as a bookend for meditation, but also it's something that I do when I'm stressed out. It just brings me back to my center right away. Nothing can center us more than not breathing for a few seconds, I think. So I'd like to direct you in that practice now. So we're going to do this 3 times. So breathe in, Hold your breath. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe out. Last time. Breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe out. Now, kind of settle in, make sure you're comfortable, rock back and forth if you need to, make sure you're comfortable. I have always found also, I want to point out, maybe this matters less if you're in a chair, but I've always found that if I start to slouch, I'm losing track of meditation and my mind's wandering. We don't always think of body and mind as connected, but they are. So whenever I feel that I'm really getting lost and getting away from the meditation, I realize, oh, my back's not straight. And that'll help me. So if your back's not straight, straighten it. If you feel yourself starting to slouch, also that can lead to back pain if we slouch too long. So we want to be as straight as we can. And now we will do the practice called following the breath, and we will do that for a little while, and then we'll switch to another practice. So I want you to bring your attention to the breath, either as it enters and exits your nose, or if that is challenging for you, you can also focus on the rise and fall of your belly. These two ways to focus are equally good. I know. I used to teach meditation to kids, and when I did that, they always wanted to do the belly instead. I don't know what it is about it that kids really connected with it, but both of these options are equally good. The breath is our anchor. It's what keeps us here instead of somewhere else, and that is the function it serves. And the breath is good as an anchor because it's something that's with us all the time, and unless there's some sort of problem, it's not something really we think about a lot, but it's with us all the time. And it directly connects us to our environment. We're inhaling and exhaling our environment all the time, so it's a direct connection to everything. And I want you to begin the practice of counting. So on the next breath in, mentally count 1. And on the breath out, count 2. And we don't go up in numbers. We do that every time. In 1, out 2. In 1, out 2. And then every time a thought comes in to distract us, or every time we hear a sound and we think, what's that? Or every time we wonder what we're doing later, or we have a memory, we just want to go back to 1 on the next in-breath. We don't want to beat ourselves up and think, oh, I'm having so much trouble. We just want to go back to 1. The breath is always there for us to return to. In 1, out 2. In 1, out 2. So we will just sit here breathing for a little while, and then we'll switch to doing something else. now I want to invite you to release the breath as your anchor. Some of you have probably done this already accidentally, and that's okay. And rather than bringing our attention to our breathing, we're just going to try to just be present and notice everything that's happening. Because a lot of things are happening. So this is called the practice of just sitting, and we're just going to notice how the floor feels beneath us or our chair. Notice the sounds we hear, notice how we're feeling. And this is the important part though. When thoughts come into our mind, we're just going to notice those. We're just going to notice, oh, a thought, and try to let it pass rather than having a thought take you to another thought and then another, which is what often happens. We're going to try to just notice, I'm thinking, I'm remembering, or whatever else. Just notice it and try to let it pass like a cloud passing through the sky, because really that's what thoughts are doing. They're just passing through, and we can learn how to just let them pass through. And we will sit and do this practice for a few minutes. like to invite you to close the meditation by doing the healing breath once again. And again, that is a very slow in breath to the count of 5, holding our breath to the count of 5, and an out breath to the count of 5. And again, we'll do that 3 times. So breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe out. Thank you for being here, everyone. I am going to read from this book a little bit and talk about it. And sometimes this book is called Cultivating the Empty Field, and sometimes what I like to do is read things that are really difficult and then think about it until I make it easy for myself. And this is a book like that. So if you hate that kind of thing, don't get this book. But if you like that kind of thing, I really recommend it.
What's the name of the book again?
Cultivating the Empty Field. Okay, so this is by a teacher named Hongji. And so this is the quote I want to read because it really speaks to me. Separate yourself from disturbance and face whatever appears before you. Wind blows and moon shines and things do not obstruct each other. So that face whatever appears before you. I was thinking about that because I think we have this habit of, especially when something's going wrong, we don't face it one particular part at a time, but rather we're thinking about the whole thing. So like today, I told my son, put away your laundry. And my son is a child and he did what children do, which is he's just overwhelmed by the amount of laundry. And so what's he do? Nothing, right? And I think we are that way sometimes. It's not just children. When we have a difficult thing ahead of us, we sometimes just fall apart. We just fall apart rather than just facing what's in front of us and just taking one step at a time. So if we've ever had a difficult series of challenges, and I think we all have, then we can have that tendency sometimes to just fall apart or just do a bad job at everything because it seems so hard, instead of just taking things just, okay, I have to do this and this and this and this. So that's what I was thinking about when I read this. But also there's another meaning, and that is he was talking about how we bring things with us into situations. We bring, and he calls them disturbances. I like to call it baggage, but when we come into a situation, sometimes we're bringing a lot to it rather than just being with what's happening. So especially if we are expecting a relationship to be like a previous relationship, or an employer to be like a previous one, we're bringing that baggage, and especially we might have some stuff we're carrying from our parents as well. But we carry these disturbances with us, and sometimes that's okay we want to learn from the past and not live there. I wrote in my notes, that's weird. If you've been struck by lightning, it makes sense to be wary of storms. I found out not too long ago, my grandfather, my mother's father, he had a brother who was hit by lightning, and he was always scared of storms because of that, and he died from getting hit by lightning as well. Isn't that crazy? So that doesn't really relate to my talk very well. But the point is that if you've got a brother that's been struck by lightning, maybe don't go outside in a storm. And we've all had things like we've been kicked in the heart in a bad relationship, and that can haunt us forever, and it can make it hard to let people get close to us, and hard to trust people and have an open heart. And also, we project a lot of our own things onto others. So when we feel guilty about an aspect of ourselves, we can think other people are that way too. Like, for example, selfishness. It's very easy to project selfishness and think other people are always coming from a selfish place when we struggle with that. I think I struggle with selfishness quite a bit. So with our practice, what we're trying to do is learn how to see things as they really are and face what's in front of us instead of carrying this baggage of what we expect or what we're afraid of or sometimes what we're hoping for too. All these different things can be what we're facing. Sometimes our being is described as like a mirror, and that is things come in front of the mirror and we either reflect them clearly, or if we're a dirty mirror, then we don't reflect them clearly and we don't have a clear picture of what's happening. And that's kind of what we're talking about too. We want to face what's in front of us, we want to see it clearly, and we want to know what's going on. So that's all I wanted to say for tonight. So if there are any comments or questions, I'd be glad to take those. And if not, that's okay. Okay, thank you for coming, everyone. I'll be here next week. I have a sign-in sheet for my email newsletter, and if anybody feels compelled to donate, there's a donation bowl, but if nobody does, it's okay. I can afford the space, but if you feel compelled to, please do.